collective of 15 practices. To end it like that, I mean, you couldn't have scripted a better way to end it on the last play. So, this group has a lot of momentum right now. Continue to form our identity. But it's really good to finish that way. No injuries for the most part. We stayed pretty healthy, and so I was very pleased with today, but also the entirety of spring. So with that, I'll just open up to questions.
Please, you raise your hand if you have a question. We'll start here on the right, middle row.
Marcus, what did you think about the performance of Drew Pine? He got to go both ways because of the injury, but to Tyler. But what did you think about him?
Yeah, I think it was, a little up and down. I think maybe there was 2 interceptions in the first half, but it's so easy to look at the quarterback. That's the position. It's the position that you're going to get the praise, you're going to get the blame, and that's why it's been important for me to continue to meet with those guys because I have to continue to think the way they think. And so a couple of them were bad at balls. A couple of them were, it's not always on the quarterback, and we don't want to turn the ball over. We know that. We have to take care of the football, but it's a collective part that we have to everybody make sure we're on the same page. And there's got to be guys that make the quarterback look good, right? And that's the challenge. Like, it's not always about making a perfect throw, but we have to have some guys that can make them look good. And so we'll evaluate it. But, listen, he played, I don't know how many plays in the first half, got 0 break. I'm really proud of him stepping up and playing for both teams.
You said there were no injuries, but like Kevin Bauman, he didn't come back in, and Logan Diggs kind of hobbled off. Any updates on them?
No, I think they were just precautionary. Like, hey, his knee kind of – I think Kevin, they said his knee kind of felt a little bit – loose or whatever, not in like I don't want anybody to write like, oh, his knee felt loose. No, they said it was a little bit sore. He got hit, and then, hey, keep him out, right? And then same thing with Logan. I think his shoulder was kind of got banged up a little bit. It was in the second half. I wanted to get some of those guys out anyway, so it was a little bit to keep those guys out. And we'll see. We got a medical report tomorrow, I'm sure. They got to check in, so we'll see what the injuries are from the game.
We'll go to P. Byrne in the back row.
Hey, Coach. I'd like to get your assessment on how you thought the defense played, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, you know what? The ability in the plus territory to create turnovers is huge, and there was times I think the offense was running the ball, then they tried to create a pass, but the ability to keep teams out of the end zone was really big. And so I know towards the end of the first half, the offense scored, I think, to make it 10-0, but to keep those guys at 3 points when there was multiple times being on the plus side of 50, I thought they did a good job.
And then for you heading into this first off season, what do you think are the biggest challenges for you personally in terms of figuring out where you want to go between now and opening day?
Well, there's a lot of different things that you have to do in the month of May, and how do you evaluate the spring from a big picture point of view? The player's going to be gone, and you're also going to have to go on the road, and our coach is going to be recruiting. I'm going to have to do some things with, just Notre Dame, period, and I'll be busy, but we're going to look back and try to see how much we can learn from the spring, the teaching tapes, the evaluation, and what do we truly need to improve on as we head into June, right? When they come back, and we know Coach Bayless is going to have them in the best shape they can possibly be in, but what do we need to do in June, right? We have a little bit more time to be able to utilize football in June, and so how can we capitalize off that time that we can spend with them?
Go to John Bryce up front.
Hey, Marcus. So much of your first 5 months, kind of following up on Pete, so much of it was finish recruiting, get through winter workouts, get through spring camp. So what do your next 100 days or so look like? And specifically, how do you become a better head coach over the next few months before going into your first full season?
Yeah, recruiting never stops. That's the first thing. Recruiting, right? Today's recruiting. Tomorrow's recruiting. Every day we have to recruit, and every coach has to have that mindset. It's about we have to get the best players in the country that fit this place. And so that's an everyday responsibility and everyday focus. In terms of how do I become a better coach, and there's many different ways to enhance what you do. You got to be able to talk to other people that are currently head coach or former head coaches, look at situational football, continue to look back at this spring and say, okay, what positions, what schematic areas do we need to improve at, and then try to address them, not wait to fall camp as much as what can we do in June, what can we do in July. You got some coaches going away, but coaches that are here, we have to all maximize the opportunities that we have to be around our players.
We'll go to Patrick, I believe, up front as well.
Marcus, what did today, or not only today, but this entire spring kind of tell you about what Jadarian Price can add to the backfield?
Yeah, I think I said it on the air. It's just that, we got, I think, 14 incoming freshmen, and you know, the misconception is that if you come in early, like, it's going to give you a better chance to play. And you know what? If you're a guy that's going to be able to play early, you're going to come in June or come in January, we're going to know. And he's one of those guys. He's going to be able to help us. And you saw it from the very first and second spring practice. And so he's a guy that understands the big pictures in terms of the playbook. He still has some learning to do, but he's a guy that can make things happen. That the transition from high school to college wasn't too big for him.
And then through 15 practices and today, what's kind of your assessment on where the kicking game and the kicking competition?
We got to improve. That's a huge challenge. And we had a scrimmage a couple weeks ago that I wasn't pleased, and we tried to challenge them during the week. And obviously today I think we were 1 for 4. And so, I mean, if we want to be a championship caliber football team, we better improve at the kicking game. And you know, then we have a muff punt that we have to make sure that doesn't happen. And so we got to make better decisions, and we have to improve at the areas that need improvement, and then enhance the areas that we're pretty well at.
We'll go to Matt next here in the back.
Marcus, there were a lot of letter winners here. There are a lot of alumni activities Thursday night, Friday, today. What went into planning this weekend for the letter winners, and what do you hope a weekend like this does for them, and how do you hope to build off that future spring games and other homecoming weeks? For
It
lack of a better
started
term?
with just the thoughts of the players, like our current players. I think they have to understand the privilege they have to play football here at this university. Part of that is inviting the former players back, right? When you see guys that have done everything you aspire to do, that is willing to come back and love this place and come back and be with their brothers, like, to me, that's powerful. And that's why I did. It was no other reason, I want those former players to come back because this is their home. They built Notre Dame football to where it's at. And so the ability for our players, our current players, to connect with those guys and say, wow, I don't care if you're Jerome Bettis, you're a first-round pick, or you're a Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're a part of Notre Dame football. And we embrace that, and we appreciate the opportunity we have to play football here. And then it's for the future, you know, to have some of those recruits see, okay, there's some current NFL players, future pro Hall of Famers, and they're all together, man. They love this place. To me, that's a reflection of how people feel about this university and this football program.
Did you learn anything being around all these guys last 40 hours that you didn't already know about this place and the alums?
It's a true brotherhood. It is a true brotherhood, and you can feel it. You can see it. It's like nothing else. And so it's really, really good and humbling to be around. It's humbling to be around, but it's a brotherhood, and I think people take a lot of pride in the time they spend here and what Notre Dame has done for them.
We'll go to Tyler here in the back left.
Marcus, we saw Maris make a play today. Is that a continuation of the playmaking ability that you think he can bring this defense?
Yeah, it's good to see 8 flying around. You know, I've missed seeing him out there, and again, when the bullets are live, he's going, you know, and now he has to make better decisions after you make an interception. And, you know, the ref made me aware of some antics he did, which that's learning. Like, you can't do things in practice. I don't care if it's practice 15 or practice 1. You can't do things in practice that you don't do in the game. And it's continuing to mature. Our whole team, not just Maris, but mature and understand the actions and the things you do in practice are going to be a reflection of what you do in the game. And so it was really good to see him make an interception and make a lot of plays. But we, as a football team, have to continue to mature and understand that, you know, energy and excitement is one thing, but hurting our football team is another.
And then another linebacker, Jordan Botello. How much has he sort of settled into his role in the defense this spring?
He's done a good job. You know, he's played Rover and some Viper. And, again, he's a guy when the ball's live, he runs, he hits, he's physical, he makes plays. And so he's a guy that is going to be a huge asset for this team.
Two-parter. First of all, what's the most important thing you learned about your team in the 15 practices? Second, what's the most important thing you learned about yourself in the 15 practices?
About the team, for sure, is that they respond to being challenged. And that was what I spent a lot of time in those off days. Okay, what challenge do they need today? Right? You can't just, hey, let's go do the same thing and go get through practice. No, it's like they got to be challenged. And so I spent a lot of time of thinking about what they need for that day and a way to challenge them. I get 10 minutes with them in our team meetings. I mean, that's all I get. And because everybody needs their meetings, from the head coach, the special teams, to the position coaches. And so we have a strict time that we have to be off the practice field. And so I spent a lot of time preparing for those 10 minutes, what challenge I wanted to present to them on that day. And so they respond to challenges. For me, it's just continue to learn, right? That how do you continue to get better? How do you continue to pick the brains of others? How do you continue to evaluate yourself? And it's the big part of it is taking feedback. you know, and I know everybody knows Coach Orgeron was here, but what I told him, I said, if you're going to be here, right, I want feedback. I want things you've seen, and that's the only way to grow, right? Nobody wants to hear where they're not good at or what you need to improve at, but when you have guys here and you have guys around you, right, our staff, really, really good coaches, how do we take feedback, seek feedback, and learn from it and grow from it?
And that is the final question. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Fans remaining in the stadium are asked to make their way to the exits